The sword was rusted, forgotten, buried beneath centuries of dust, until he touched it. In that single, reckless moment, Jason Mercer's life shattered. The ground trembled. The wind howled like a warning. And the blade remembered. It pulsed in his grip, whispering secrets of blood and betrayal, of an empire lost and a throne drenched in red. He didn't know it yet, but that broken relic had just crowned him king. And across the stars, hidden in the shadows of power, she felt it. The last heir had awakened. The hunt began. The war would follow. And Jason? He was about to learn the hardest lesson of all. Some legacies refuse to stay dead. Now run. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now, hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The wind howled through the ruins of Eldrick's Hollow, a graveyard of forgotten empires where the dust never settled. It carried whispers, voices from another time, murmurs of war and betrayal. Jason Mercer, a scavenger with sun-leathered skin and a smirk that had seen too many bad deals, kicked at the dirt, sending a pebble skittering across the broken stones. His boots, scuffed and worn, crunched over the remnants of a civilization long dead. He wasn't here for history. He was here for salvage. Anything he could pawn off to the traders in the next starport. Then he saw it, half buried in the dust, its edge dulled by time, lay a sword. Rust clung to it like a second skin, its hilt wrapped in frayed leather. Jason crouched, wiping sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. Another relic for the scrap heap, he muttered, reaching for it. The moment his fingers closed around the grip, a jolt shot up his arm. Sharp, electric. He yanked his hand back, shaking it out. What the hell? The ground trembled. A low, grinding hum filled the air, like a machine waking from centuries of slumber. Jason's breath hitched. He wasn't a superstitious man, but the ruins suddenly felt too quiet, too watchful. Great. Haunted metal, he muttered, glaring at the sword. Still, something about it pulled at him. He grabbed it again, this time bracing for the shock, but it didn't come. Instead, the rust flaked away under his touch, revealing a glimmer of silver beneath. A smooth, amused voice cut through the silence. You might want to put that down before it gets you killed. Jason spun, heart hammering. Leaning against a crumbling pillar was a woman, tall, lethal, dressed in a form-fitting suit that looked like it was woven from shadows and starlight. Her raven-black hair fell in a sharp cascade over one shoulder, framing a face that was all angles and confidence. Her lips curled into a smirk as she pushed off the pillar, her boots silent against the stone. Jason tightened his grip on the sword. Who the hell are you? Celine Vex. She tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle she couldn't quite solve. And you're either the luckiest scavenger in the galaxy or the dumbest. Jason scoffed. I've been called worse. Celine's eyes flicked to the sword, then back to him. You really don't know what you're holding, do you? Enlighten me. That rusty junk is the Ascendant Blade, she said, stepping closer. Last wielded by Emperor Kale Arcturus before he vanished. And according to Imperial law, whoever holds it is the rightful ruler of the fallen Imperium. Jason barked out a laugh. Good one. Next you'll tell me I'm secretly a prince. Celine didn't laugh. She didn't even blink. Jason's grin faded. You're serious. Deadly. Her gaze shifted past him, sharpening. And we're about to have company. Jason turned. Shadows moved at the edges of the ruins. Figures clad in sleek, armored suits, their faces hidden behind mirrored visors. Their weapons hummed to life, glowing with an eerie blue light. Celine sighed, rolling her shoulders. I told you to put it down. Jason hefted the sword, feeling its weight, strangely perfect in his grip. Yeah, well, too late now. The first attacker lunged. Jason swung on instinct. The blade sang, cutting through the air with a resonance that shouldn't have been possible. The attacker's weapon shattered on contact, the force of the blow sending him sprawling. Celine arched a brow. Not bad for a scavenger. Jason grinned, adrenaline surging. Stick around. I'm full of surprises. She flipped a dagger into her palm, eyes gleaming. Oh, I'm counting on it. And then the real fight began. Chapter 2. The morning sun filtered through the dusty windows of the old tavern, casting long shadows across the worn wooden floor. Eli stirred his coffee absent-mindedly, the spoon clinking against the chipped mug. Across the table, Jace leaned back in his chair, boots propped up on the edge, a smirk playing on his lips. "You look like you've been wrestling a ghost," Jace said, raising an eyebrow. "What's eating you?" Eli sighed, rubbing his temples. "Dreams again. Same one. The storm, the ship, that voice calling my name. It's like it's pulling me somewhere, but I don't know where." Jace chuckled, tossing a peanut into the air and catching it in his mouth. "Maybe you're finally losing it. Too much time staring at old maps and dusty books." Before Eli could retort, the tavern door swung open with a creak, and a woman strode in, her cloak damp from the morning mist. She scanned the room, her gaze sharp as a blade, before zeroing in on their table. "You Eli Varro?" she asked, her voice low but carrying. Eli exchanged a glance with Jace, who dropped his boots to the floor with a thud. "Depends on who's asking," Eli said cautiously. The woman slid into the seat beside him, pulling a small, intricately carved box from her pocket. She set it on the table with a deliberate thump. "Name's Kira, and this," she tapped the box, "belongs to you. Or at least, it will if you're half the man they say you are." Jace whistled, reaching for the box. "Looks expensive. What's inside, gold? Jewels? A cursed artifact that'll melt our faces off." Kira slapped his hand away. "Try patience, hotshot." She turned back to Eli. "Open it. But be ready, it's not what you expect." Eli hesitated, then flipped the latch. Inside lay a single, weathered compass, its needles spinning wildly despite the stillness of the room. His breath caught. This was my father's." Kira nodded. "And it's pointing to something he left behind. Something buried deep in the Blackridge Mountains." Jace leaned in, eyes gleaming. "Treasure or trouble," Kira countered. "Depends on how you look at it. But one thing's certain, you're not the only one after it." Eli's fingers tightened around the compass. "Who else?" A crash from the doorway interrupted them. 3 armed men barged in, their leader scanning the room before locking eyes with Kira. "There she is, and she's got the compass." Jace groaned, standing up and cracking his knuckles. "You just had to bring friends, didn't you?" Kira smirked, flipping a dagger from her sleeve. "What's the fun without a little chaos?" Eli pocketed the compass, adrenaline surging. "Guess we're doing this the hard way." The leader drew his sword, grinning. "Hand it over, and maybe we'll let you walk out alive." Jace laughed, flipping the table over his cover. "Yeah, that's not happening." As the first attacker lunged, Eli ducked, feeling the rush of air from the blade. This was just the beginning, and the compass was only the first clue. Whatever his father had hidden, it was worth killing for, and that meant they were running out of time. Chapter 3. The forest swallowed them whole, the dense canopy blotting out the afternoon sun. Eli guided his horse over gnarled roots, the compass now warm against his chest. Behind him, Jace whistled a tuneless melody, seemingly unbothered by their narrow escape. "You realize we just stole horses, right?" Eli muttered, glancing back at the fading smoke from the city. "Borrowed," Jace corrected with a grin. "We left payment. That makes it a business transaction." Kira snorted, scanning the trees ahead. "Tell that to the guards when they catch up." "They won't," Jace said confidently. "I picked the fastest ones. Ili Sayeth. Because that's what you were focused on while running for your life. Priorities, my friend." Jace leaned forward, patting his horse's neck. "Aren't you a beauty? I think I'll call you Lightning." The horse flicked its ears as if unimpressed. Kira rolled her eyes. "We've got bigger problems than naming stolen livestock." She pointed to the compass. "How much farther?" Eli pulled it out, watching the needle twitch. Not far, but the terrain's getting rougher. As if on cue, the path ahead sloped upward, the trees thinning to reveal jagged cliffs. A distant rumble of thunder rolled across the sky. Perfect, Jace muttered. Just what we needed, a scenic storm to match our impending doom. Kira ignored him, dismounting to examine the rocky incline. We'll have to go on foot from here. Horses won't make it. Jace groaned, sliding off lightning with exaggerated reluctance. You hear that, girl? Freedom. Try not to miss me too much. The horse huffed and immediately began grazing. Eli secured his pack, eyeing the darkening clouds. We should hurry. If those men back there were willing to attack in broad daylight, they're not going to stop. Kira adjusted her dagabits. Then let's make sure we're the ones who find whatever's up there first. The climb was steep, the rocks slick with impending rain. Jay scrambled up beside Eli, panting. Remind me again why we're doing this? Because my father left something important, Eli said, jaw tight. And because you'd be bored otherwise. Jace grinned. Fair. A crack of lightning split the sky, illuminating a narrow cave entrance just above them. The compass needle spun wildly before locking onto it. Kira's eyes gleamed. There. They hauled themselves up the last stretch, the first drops of rain beginning to fall. The cave mouth yawned before them, darkness swallowing the faint light. Jace peered inside. Oh, this looks inviting. Probably full of friendly creatures and zero traps. Eli ignited a torch, the flame casting long shadows. Stay close. The air inside was thick with the scent of damp earth and something older, something waiting. The walls were carved with strange symbols, their meaning lost to time. Kira traced one with her finger. This isn't just a hiding place. It's a marker. Your father knew what he was leaving behind. Another rumble of thunder shook the ground, but this time it didn't stop. The floor trembled, pebbles skittering. Jace grabbed the wall for balance. Okay, that's not the storm. A deep, grinding noise echoed from the depths of the cave, followed by the unmistakable sound of stone scraping against stone. Eli's grip tightened on the torch. Something's coming. Kira drew her dagger. Or something's been woken up. The shadows at the back of the cave shifted, and a pair of glowing eyes flickered to life. Jace exhaled. You know what? I take it back. I am bored. Let's go home. Too late. The creature stepped into the light, and the real hunt began. Chapter 4. The underground tunnels beneath Eldrick's hollow smelled of damp earth and something metallic. Blood or rust, Jason couldn't tell which. The dim glow of Celine's wrist-mounted illuminator cast long shadows on the curved walls as they ran, their footsteps echoing through the narrow passage. You still haven't told me where we're going, Jason panted, gripping the ascendant blade tighter. The sword pulsed faintly in his hand, as if responding to his heartbeat. Celine shot him a sideways glance, her lips quirking. You're the Emperor now. Shouldn't you be giving the orders? Yeah, well, this Emperor didn't get the handbook. Jason ducked as a low-hanging pipe nearly took his head off. And I'm still not convinced this isn't some elaborate scam. Celine snorted. Trust me, if I was scamming you, I'd pick a much richer mark. A distant clang echoed from behind them, the sound of armored boots on metal. Their pursuers were gaining ground. Jason cursed under his breath. We need to lose them. Working on it. Celine skidded to a stop at a fork in the tunnel, her eyes scanning the darkness. She tapped a hidden panel on the wall, and a section of stone slid open with a groan. In here. Now. Jason didn't hesitate. They slipped through the opening just as a volley of energy bolts sizzled past, scorching the tunnel walls. The hidden doors sealed behind them, plunging them into near-total darkness. Celine's illuminator flickered back to life, revealing a circular chamber lined with ancient machinery. In the center stood a pedestal, its surface etched with the same symbols as the sword. Jason exhaled sharply. Okay, what is this place? Reliquary Vault 7, Celine said, moving toward the pedestal. one of the last secure locations of the Imperium. And if I'm right, she pressed her palm against the pedestal's surface. It lit up beneath her touch, holographic schematics spiraling into the air. Jason whistled. You just happen to have access to Imperial vaults. Celine's expression darkened. Let's just say I've got a vested interest in keeping you alive. Before Jason could press further, the hologram shifted, forming the image of a man in ornate armor, the same figure they'd seen earlier. But this time, the projection spoke directly to him. Jason Mercer, the hologram intoned, you bear the blood of Arcturus. The Imperium's fall was no accident. It was betrayed from within. Jason's stomach dropped. By who? The hologram's eyes seemed to bore into him. By those closest to the throne. A loud bang reverberated through the chamber, the sound of something heavy slamming against the hidden door. Celine's hand flew to the blaster at her hip. We're out of time. Jason stepped toward the hologram. If I'm really the heir, then tell me how to stop them. The hologram extended a ghostly hand. The answers lie in the Black Archive. But be warned, the truth may cost you more than you're willing to pay. Another bang, louder this time. Cracks spiderwebbed across the door. Celine grabbed Jason's arm. We need to move. Now. Jason hesitated, then reached out to the hologram. The moment his fingers passed through the projection, a surge of energy raced up his arm. Visions flashed through his mind. A fleet of warships, a throne room drenched in blood, a woman's face, beautiful and cruel. Then it was gone. Celine yanked him back. Jason, snap out of it. He blinked, disoriented. I saw something. No time for visions, Celine snapped, dragging him toward a secondary passage. Unless you want to die here, we run. The door behind them burst open. Jason tightened his grip on the sword and ran. Chapter 5. The creature emerged from the shadows, a hulking mass of sinew and jagged bone, its glowing eyes fixed on them with predatory hunger. Saliva dripped from its fanged maw as it let out a guttural growl that vibrated through the cave. Jace backpedaled, nearly tripping over a loose rock. Oh, wonderful. A pet. Did your father leave us this too, Eli? Eli's torch trembled in his grip. Not the time for jokes, Jace. Kira didn't wait. Her dagger flashed through the air, embedding itself in the beast's shoulder. It roared, swiping at her, but she twisted away just in time. Distracted, she barked, rolling to retrieve her blade. Ow! Ask it to dance. Jace yelped, ducking as a clawed hand shattered the rock where his head had been. Eli grabbed a loose stalactite and hurled it at the creature's face. It staggered back, snarling. The symbols on the walls. There's got to be a way to use them. Kira lunged again, slashing at its legs. Then figured out fast. The beast swung wildly, its tail whipping out and sending Jace crashing into the wall. He groaned, clutching his ribs. Okay, that hurt. Eli's eyes darted across the carvings, ancient, deliberate. One stood out, a circular pattern with a single indentation at its center. The compass. Kira, cover me. He sprinted toward the wall, fumbling the compass from his pocket. The creature turned, sensing his movement, but Kira vaulted onto its back, driving her dagger into its spine. It howled, thrashing. Jace pushed himself up, blood trickling from his lip. Oh, no, you don't. He grabbed a fallen rock and chucked it with all his strength, hitting the beast square between the eyes. Eli slammed the compass into the indentation. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the cave erupted in light. The symbols flared blue, lines of energy racing across the stone. The creature shrieked as the glow engulfed it, its form dissolving into swirling mist. Silence. Jace blinked. Did we just magic it to death? Kira wiped her blade, breathing hard. Looks like. Eli pulled the compass free, the light fading. The wall shuddered, then split open, revealing a hidden passage. Jace whistled. Your dad didn't do things halfway, did he? Beyond lay a chamber, its center dominated by a pedestal. Resting atop, it was an ornate key, its surface etched with the same strange symbols. Kira stepped forward, eyes wide. That's no ordinary key. That's a relic of the first keep. The legends are real. Jace picked it up, turning it in the dim light. So what's it open? A vault? A prison? A really fancy wine cellar? Before anyone could answer, the ground trembled again, but this time it wasn't the cave. It was the mountain itself. Rocks rained from the ceiling as a deafening crack split the air. Kira grabbed Eli's arm. We need to move. Now. They bolted for the entrance as the tunnel collapsed behind them. Daylight blinded them as they spilled onto the cliffs, the cave sealing itself shut with a final, thunderous boom. Jace coughed, spitting out dust. Well, that was dramatic. Eli stared at the key in his hands, its weight suddenly immense. This changes everything. Kira nodded grimly. And we're not the only ones who know it exists now. Far below, at the base of the mountain, torches flickered to life, dozens of them. The hunt was far from over. Jace sighed, stretching his bruised shoulders. So, running again. Eli pocketed the key, jaw set. Running. And with the storm at their backs and enemies ahead, they vanished into the night. Chapter 6. The Black Archive wasn't what Jason expected. Instead of dusty shelves and ancient tomes, they stood before a towering obsidian monolith humming with energy, its surface swirling with constellations of blue light. The air smelled like ozone and something older, something that made the hairs on Jason's neck stand up. Celine let out a low whistle. Been a while since I've seen one of these. Jason eyed the structure warily. You've been here before? Not here exactly. She stepped forward, her boots clicking against the polished black floor. But places like it. Imperial memory vaults, where they stored their dirtiest secrets. A sudden tremor shook the chamber. Dust rained from the ceiling as distant explosions echoed through the facility. Jason shot a look toward the entrance. They're getting closer, then stopped dawdling and activated. Celine gestured impatiently at the monolith. It'll respond to your DNA. Jason hesitated. Last time I touched ancient Imperial tech, I got a headache and visions of doom. Celine smirked. Welcome to your birthright. Gritting his teeth, Jason pressed his palm against the cold surface. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the blue lights flared, and a voice boomed through the chamber, deep, mechanical, and utterly devoid of warmth. Identity confirmed. Jason Arcturus, last heir of the Imperium. Access granted. The monolith split open like a flower, revealing a hollow center where a single data crystal hovered. Jason reached for it, but Celine grabbed his wrist. Wait. Her grip was firm, her expression unreadable. You need to understand something first. What's in there? It changes people. Jason met her gaze. You know what it is? A muscle twitched in her jaw. I know enough. Another explosion, closer this time. The walls vibrated. Jason pulled free and snatched the crystal. The moment his fingers closed around it, the archive came alive. Projections erupted around them. Battlefields, political assassinations, secret meetings. And at the center of it all, a woman with striking violet eyes and a crown of twisted silver. Jason's breath caught. That's Empress Lysandra, Celine finished, her voice tight. Your aunt, the one who orchestrated the coup against your father. The images shifted, showing Lysandra standing over a bleeding man, a man who looked eerily like Jason. The Emperor, her brother. Jason's stomach twisted. She killed him. Celine nodded. And she's been hunting you ever since. The sword was the only thing that could prove your lineage. A new projection appeared, a massive warship, unlike anything Jason had ever seen. That's the Eclipse, Celine whispered. Her flagship, and if these readings are right. Jason's blood ran cold. She's here. The crystal's final projection showed the Eclipse in orbit, its weapons charging. Celine grabbed Jason's arm. We need to move. Now. Jason stared at the image of his aunt, the woman who destroyed his family. No, I'm done running. Celine's eyes flashed. You can't face her alone. I won't be alone. He turned to her, the sword humming in his grip. Will I? For the first time since they'd met, Celine looked uncertain. Then she straightened, her lips curling into a fierce grin. Guess I'm officially a traitor now. Jason returned the grin. Welcome to the rebellion. The chamber shook again as the door behind them exploded inward. Through the smoke, armored figures advanced, their weapons raised. Jason ignited the ascendant blade, its edge blazing with blue fire. Ready. Celine drew twin pistols, her stance steady. Born ready, and as their enemies charged, the lost Emperor and his rogue guardian stood back to back, ready to face the storm. Chapter 7. The smoke from the shattered doorway swirled around them as the first wave of attackers charged. Jason swung the ascendant blade in a wide arc, its blue flame cutting through armor like paper. Bodies fell, but more kept coming. An endless tide of Lyssandra's elite guard. Celine's pistols barked in rapid succession, each shot finding its mark. We can't hold them here forever, she shouted over the din of battle. Jason gritted his teeth as a plasma bolt grazed his shoulder. Got any bright ideas? Celine ducked behind a crumbling pillar, ejecting spent cartridges. Just one. She tapped her wrist comm. Rook, we need extraction now. A gruff voice crackled through. Took you long enough. Hold tight, coming in hot. The ceiling exploded. Jason threw up an arm as debris rained down, shielding his eyes from the dust. When he looked up, a sleek gunship hovered above them, its side doors open. A grizzled man with a cybernetic eye leaned out, a massive rifle braced against his shoulder. Need a lift, Your Majesty? Rook bellowed, laying down, covering fire. Jason grabbed Celine's hand. Go! They leapt onto the descending ramp just as the chamber collapsed behind them. The gunship banked sharply, throwing them against the bulkhead as it shot upward through the ruins. Celine groaned, pushing herself up. Remind me to thank you later, Rook. The old mercenary chuckled. I'll put on your tab. Jason peered out the viewport as they broke through the clouds. The eclipse loomed above them, its massive silhouette blotting out the stars. His grip tightened on the sword. We have to get aboard that ship. Rook's cybernetic eye whirred as he zoomed in on the flagship. You got a death wish, kid? No, a reckoning. Celine studied Jason's face, then nodded. Rook, you still have those stealth pod from the Cerberus job? The mercenary grinned. Thought you'd never ask. Minutes later, they hurtled toward the eclipse in cloaked insertion pods, the stars streaking past. Jason's pod shuddered as it latched onto the flagship's hull. The hatch hissed open, revealing a deserted maintenance corridor. Celine materialized beside him, her suit's camouflage fading. Stay close, and try not to get killed. Jason smirked. Wasn't planning on it. They moved like shadows through the ship's underbelly, avoiding patrols with practiced ease. The deeper they went, the more Jason felt it, a pull like the sword was guiding him. Then they reached the throne room. The doors slid open before them, revealing a cavernous chamber of black marble and gold. At its center, seated on a floating dais, was Empress Lysandra. She looked up from her wine glass, violet eyes gleaming. Ah, my nephew finally comes home. Jason stepped forward, the ascendant blade blazing in his grip. This was never your home. You stole it. Lysandra sighed, rising gracefully. Such dramatics. I saved the Imperium from your father's weakness. You murdered him, and now I'll finish what I started. She flicked her wrist. Hidden panels slid open, revealing rows of turrets. Goodbye, Jason. The guns fired. Celine tackled Jason aside as the world erupted in gunfire. Rook's voice crackled in their earpieces. Got your back. The eclipse shuddered as something massive impacted its hull. Lysandra's composure cracked. What? Jason didn't hesitate. He charged, the sword singing as it clashed against his aunt's energy whip. They danced across the throne room, blow for blow, the very air crackling with their fury. You'll never win, Lysandra hissed. The Imperium is mine. Jason locked eyes with her and saw the fear beneath the rage. "No," he said softly. "It never was." With one final swing, the ascendant blade found its mark. Lysandra gasped, looking down at the glowing steel in her chest. Then she collapsed, her crown clattering across the floor. Silence fell. Celine limped to Jason's side, her suit torn and bloody. "Well, that was fun." Jason exhaled, the sword's light fading. "It's over." Rook's voice boomed through the comms. Hate to break it to you, but the eclipse is going down. Suggest we leave before we become stardust." Celine grabbed Jason's arm. "Come on, Emperor. Your people need you." Jason took one last look at the fallen throne, then nodded. Together, they ran for the hangar as the ship began to tear itself apart behind them. The gunship barely cleared the exploding flagship when the first distress calls started coming in, from planets, from colonies, from ships adrift in the void, all bearing the same message. The Emperor has returned. Celine leaned back in her seat, grinning. "Looks like you've got work to do." Jason stared at the stars, the weight of his legacy settling on his shoulders. Then he smiled. "Guess we better get started." And as their ship jumped to light speed, the first rays of a new dawn broke across the galaxy. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.